Hey guys, Sean Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru. I'm going to try to post two videos today. One, I just finished, that's a case study, but two is a response to some responses to a video I did recently on COVID restrictions and the problems with isolation of our elderly, especially. And I posted that video to a very large Facebook group that caters to PT, OT, and speech therapy dialogue about different issues. And I found this site, Facebook page, to be very helpful. And I know personally a couple of the administrators of it. And so I've enjoyed the ability to post some of my videos on there, including the one I did a few days back on COVID restrictions and some of the concerns I had. Anyway, they shut down commentary after, I don't know, 10 to 12 comments because things were getting a little snarky. And I was frankly, one of the snarks, a little bit. But one thing I don't like to do is I don't like to shut down conversation, even with people that might be getting angry. For example, on my personal Facebook page, I don't swear. The only time I will swear is mentally, and occasionally I've let one fly if I'm by myself and something really bad happened. I don't mean to. It comes out, and I go, oh, forgive me, Lord. But anyway, if somebody swears on my Facebook page, like makes a comment with a swear or personally attacks me, I don't care. Um, I'd rather engage that person because I do believe that the best way to combat hate is with love. And I don't always give the love as I should. Uh, but if somebody gets a little bit too vicious, I don't necessarily just shut them down. But anyway, this wasn't the case on that Facebook page. But things were getting a little heated. There was a little more heat developing than light. And a young man I had an interchange with, Christopher, uh, and I were making points and counterpoints. So anyway, Christopher, if you happen to watch my videos, I don't know if you do, I don't know if you care, and that's okay. But if you happen to watch this, this is related to our conversation. So one, the main subject matter, and maybe I didn't get this across as much as I should. I do believe that it's time to basically stop the lockdowns as they currently exist. Now, what do I mean by that? We have a situation in the United States where some studies suggest that failure to thrive may exceed, in terms of like total deaths, uh, may exceed COVID deaths. And so, logically, when you look at the two statistics, and if that's the case, if that's truly the case, you look at the two statistics and you go, if we shut down, this many people will die. If we don't shut down, this many people will die or have died. Maybe it's worth opening up, if this number's higher, maybe it's worth opening up to, even though we might see a little bit more deaths on that side, we got to do something about the deaths on this side. By shutting down, what it appears, we may have doubled our statistics, and we don't know if we would double them necessarily if we opened. So that was my point. That was probably not entirely well made. Um, I talked about nursing homes and the fact that my dad was in a nursing home, and the shutdowns there prevented me from actually interacting with a last hug with my dad before he passed, and so that was sad for both of us not having that opportunity, and I believe we could have had the freedom to do that. Uh, but I understand the concern. When we saw initially a spike in nursing home deaths, obviously. And one of the problems was, like, you had states like New York, Governor Cuomo, sending, ordering that SNFs open to COVID cases. So sending COVID cases actively into these nursing homes, and thus creating a pandemic of nursing home deaths as a result of COVID. So, we had that going on. So that kind of inflated, in a sense, artificially, the number of deaths that were occurring in that setting, in the long-term care SNF setting. So when I say eliminate restrictions, I'm not saying that we should just let everybody walk into nursing homes without masks, without face shields, without gowns, and just eliminate. And so I apologize if that seemed to come across. What I am saying is that we need to have meaningful interactions with people allowed in the nursing homes. We need to let family in. We need to allow hugs. Whether they're wearing PPE or not, that should be the right and the decision of the nursing home, of that individual nursing home. But they should be allowing people in. We've got to eliminate an effect of the lockdowns, and the effect is truly this isolation and failure to thrive that we're seeing, and that may grow to be worse. Now, the diagnosis of failure to thrive by itself isn't the only factor. Depression is through the roof. Calls to suicide hotlines is through the roof. So when you factor in all of the ramifications of lockdowns, the death rate is going to exceed COVID death rate. When you factor in also the number of people that are being put into poverty, that is going to even more supersede COVID. The World Health Organization early on, this is like back in the summer, estimated, and this appears to be playing out quite clearly before our eyes, that 500 million people throughout the world would be put into poverty by the shutdowns. 500 million. What is the death rate to date of COVID worldwide? It's about 1 million. It's around 1 million. So we're talking about a problem 500 times worse created by lockdowns. So logically, when you look at statistics, you need to say it doesn't add up to have the lockdowns as they exist, because we're compounding the situation. Now, some governments have done the wise thing. They've opened up their economies to those that are healthy. They've allowed interactions for those that are healthy, that don't have comorbidities, to keep their economies going. They've allowed people to go to jobs, dine out if they want, which allows the restaurants to stay open. If the restaurants are staying open, then the restaurants are buying food from local farmers. If the local farmers are still able to grow their crops, then they're able to supply some local people's food needs as well. And of course, they can pay their own mortgage and pay for their cars, which helps the banks that are footing the loan for the bill. And if people can work, they can pay their mortgages, so that the bank companies that are giving the mortgages, can therefore hire employees to work at their banks. In other words, it's a continuous cycle. So that was part of my point, which was probably not entirely well stated. Here's another point I made in my video, which was misconstrued. I said something to the effect that because I already have 12 children in my house, I was going to be going against a state order, a ban on gatherings in my home for Thanksgiving, and that's the way I roll. Well, I already had those people in my home, and I'm not traveling anywhere. We stayed at home, and we didn't have my wife's parents over as usually they come for Thanksgiving. We invited them to come, but they're deathly afraid, and well, it's their right, but they're lonely, and they miss their grandchildren. They're very close. And anyway, that's another subject. But we stayed within the travel ban. We didn't travel, but by definition, by the governor just putting in a mandated 10-person gathering at the most mandate, we violated it. But it can't be helped. And I'm not going to send away certain of my kids and say, sorry, you have to leave. You can't have Thanksgiving with the rest of us. And draw lots for which child must leave. That's insane. And then, folks, if you are disagreeing with what I'm saying, there's a whole nother layer to this discussion, which is not the purpose of this particular channel, and that is whether it's legal for a governor to mandate a restriction on gatherings. Whether the government has a right to prevent people from going to work and earning an income. Whether the government has a right to say your relationships shall look like this. Does the government have a right to do that? And that's a whole nother subject for a different channel. Anyway, hope you have a great day. Hopefully this video might be seen by my sparring partner, Christopher. Christopher, I bear you absolutely no ill will. I enjoyed our back and forth. And feel free to comment. Have a great day. Take care and God bless.